opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium. Good evening, you are tuned in to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Today's date is April the 4th. It is 2017 on this Tuesday evening. We will be on air for the next hour bringing you some news and some views. Of course, if you would like to share your opinions or if you have any commentary on any of the stories for tonight, just give us a call at 866-510-9025. That's 866-510-9025. Hit ** on the keypad that will put you in the caller's queue. Welcome again to Black Talk Radio News. Got just a few news stories that I want to go over with you during this next hour. Couple of quick headlines that I'm going to share with you. We'll get more into these stories a little later on, but we have the main story that I want to talk about. I saw the story a couple of days ago, hadn't really had time to focus on it, but what really stood out to me in this story is Mr. Williams, a South Carolina man who was killed by police in Sumter, I think that's Sumter, South Carolina on December the 10th. He was killed, and it appears he might have been shot about 19 times. Now, I know the headline in the graph says 17 times, but if you read the lawsuit, it says 19 times. And that really stood out to me because I was reminded of the 17 times that Laquan McDonald, the teenager in Chicago who was killed a couple of years ago. I don't believe that officer has been on trial yet, although he is facing murder charges. So that kind of stood out to me in this particular case with Mr. I believe you pronounce his name, Waltki Williams, and he was killed December the 10th in Sumter, South Carolina. Again, shot over 17, well, let's just say 17 to 19 times. I'm getting conflicting information there. And whenever you hear about somebody being shot like that, it just really speaks to what was the person feeling that was doing the shooting? Were they really, really angry? Was there a lot of emotion and hate behind this? I mean, that is just what they call overkill, I guess is the good word to use when you shoot somebody that many times. And according to the sister of Mr. Williams, it appears that he was shot in the back. At least that's what she is alleging in the lawsuit that has been filed. So we'll get into some of the details of that. Of course, they're using his criminal record as a way to minimize what happened to him, to suggest somehow that he deserved to be shot however many times in the back by police. And we'll get into the details of that case. That's why, I've heard people say you can't outrun the radio, and you really can't. I've just never seen a good outcome when you try to flee from police. Again, I'm not saying that he did anything wrong to be killed, but again, when you live behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. and you got slave catchers here and there, everywhere, looking to write you a ticket, looking to charge you with a crime, to put you into slavery, you really have to be careful about how you move behind these enemy lines. So we will take a look at that. But there is a story where we have some video coming out of Utah in the case of Nicholas Sanchez being killed by police in Roy, Utah is the city, and it appears that they killed him with his own gun. We have the video from the dash cam. I think it was the Salt Lake Tribune obtained the dash cam, or in this case, the body cam video, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And again, this guy ran, and it just never ends well when you run from police. It just doesn't. I'm not telling anybody not to run. Certainly there are reasons to be fearful of police here in the United States with so many killings. And as some of the other stories we'll get to in the case, it may get a whole lot worse with Jeff Sessions running the Attorney General's office, the United States Attorney General's office. Again, he already had a conference where he told state attorney generals, these are the people like in, for example, North Carolina's new governor used to be the attorney general for North Carolina, Roy Cooper. But they apparently had a state's attorney general's conference that Jeff Sessions spoke at. And he was basically putting out there that he was not going to investigate police shootings like this, that he wasn't going to waste money investigating police and telling them how to do their jobs. Again, this man, I just can't say enough bad things about old Jeff Beauregard Sessions. So many reasons he should not be in that position, but he's in there now, so we got to deal with it. We got to reassess the battlefield and come up with new battlefield plans based off of what is going on right now. So we will take a look at this story that says that Jeff Sessions is ordering the Justice Department to review all police reform agreements. Let me guess, Jeff about to tear them all up or something. Not that I have seen, and I don't know, I don't have all the information, but I have not seen where these consent decree orders that the police departments enter into with the Justice Department, I have not seen where it has reduced crime by police. It doesn't reduce brutality. It just simply doesn't do that. A lot of stuff still goes on, even when you had an independent federal monitor in there. I just have not ever seen a case or read a case where you have a police department and they enter into these consent decrees meant to implement reforms that they have agreed to with the Justice Department. It just seems to me that the reforms don't seem to make any changes. So what's the point? But Jeff Sessions is having the Justice Department take a look at all of these agreements. I wonder how many there are, but take a look at those agreements, and I expect him to fully tear them up based off of his last comments to the nation's attorney general, saying that they weren't going to spend any money investigating or telling police how to do their jobs. This review, as I stated, could affect the consent decrees that police departments are already entered into. So definitely want to look at some of the details of that case right there. In some other news, we got my favorite proxy racist person on the planet, Sheriff David Clark. It's between him and Obama. I can't figure out which one is my favorite proxy of racism in this country, but we have David Clark. I think he's a junior, David Clark Jr. He's the sheriff in Milwaukee. We got a couple of listeners in Milwaukee in that area. He's the county sheriff. Last year, 4 people died in his jail, including a baby, which was born. I'm believing that she was born alive, but the baby ended up dying, caused the people in the jail, the sheriff deputies of Mr. Clark, decided they were not going to give her any kind of medical attention, although she was screaming that she was going into labor. And so all of that is on Sheriff Clark. Now, Sheriff Clark, who is being criticized heavily in his own town, I believe he will be up for re-election here soon. And he does have some opponents that have been taking shots at him, and including the mayor, and saying that, look, this guy doesn't even do his job. He's hardly ever in Milwaukee. He's always on Fox News or CNN. He's always flying around the country, getting butter biscuits from these different groups. I'm talking about gifts and what have you, reimbursed for quote unquote travel expenses, and saying this man ain't, he can't even tell you what's going on in his own jail. I believe that Sheriff Clark is a sociopath, and I mean that as a clinical diagnosis. Although I'm not a psychiatrist, I can read, and he just seems to, he's a narcissist. This guy is worse than Trump. If y'all think Donald Trump was bad, is bad, y'all don't know David Clark. I can just imagine this dude as president. It really would be time to leave the country then, So he is now sticking his nose in somebody else's business instead of worrying about Milwaukee. He's worried about the comments of Newark, New Jersey Mayor Ras Baraka, who made some comments about sanctuary cities. Apparently, Newark is a sanctuary city, and Mayor Baraka has some things to say about the federal immigration law and trying to force them to adhere to or cooperate with the federal government on immigration. Donald Trump threatened to withhold federal funds to all of these sanctuary cities. But Sheriff Clark, again, this ain't got nothing to do with Sheriff Clark. He just need to, focus on what's going on in Milwaukee. Really, this guy should be on trial, if you ask me, for at least 4 cases of manslaughter for those 4 deaths that occurred in his jail last year. But he's saying that Ras Baraka's comments about fugitive slave laws are the gold standard of stupidity. So we want to take a look at that. When people start talking about slavery or any part of history, I'm always interested because that's one of my favorite subjects is history. So we'll take a look at what he had to say there. Mexico. It's really bad down there in Mexico. I know a lot of people right now, when we talk about Mexico, we talk about illegal immigration, undocumented immigrants here in this country, Trump's border wall. But frequently from time to time, I will remind people about the gun walking scheme that the ATF, along with 2 different administrations where they were walking guns across the border to put in the hands of these drug cartels, which I think in a couple of years resulted in over 50,000 Mexicans dead. So, if I was facing that kind of level of violence, I'd be trying to get out too. So that's why I have empathy for these people. Again, I've done programs on this not being a simplistic issue, very, very complex issue. When you look at the problems around the world, and we're talking about refugees, and I would consider people fleeing the violence in Mexico as refugees or anywhere else south of the border. When those women were sending their children up here that summer unaccompanied, now you really got to be afraid for your child's life to hand them over to some human smugglers to get them out of Honduras or whatever South American country you are in, and you send them up here. Those are refugees. And, this is not a simplistic issue. But we have a story that says that so many journalists have been killed in Mexico this year that a newspaper is being forced to shut down. Again, there is a lot of corruption in Mexico, a lot of corruption all over the world. I don't mean to say that Mexico's any more corrupt than the United States, because it's not. Mexico does have a very huge problem with these drug cartels, and they often bribe the police, bribe public officials, and they just pretty much, it's like the Wild West. When you think of the Wild West, every man for himself, gunslingers and all of that. Or if you watch Scarface movies and these violent gang wars, it's really like that in Mexico. People getting kidnapped, they try to stand up and speak out. We know the largest newspaper in Mexico did an investigative journalist piece a few years ago that showed that the United States Drug Enforcement Agency had a deal with one of Mexico's most notoriously violent drug cartels, and that would be the Sinaloa cartel. And this appeared in their paper first. They broke that story, and it got picked up by some other stories. But hey, do you have any of you really heard about that? Did you hear about the DEA being in this big scandal, and there were congressional hearings about why does the DEA have a drug deal with a drug cartel, allowing them to smuggle drugs into the United States? And so there is a lot. Apparently, journalists are being targeted in Mexico as they uncover this type of stuff to show the relationship between these drug cartels and the governments, whether that be Mexico, whether that be the U.S. government through these various agencies. So those are the stories that I'll be going over in the next hour. If you have a question or a comment, get it in quick. You can give us a call at 866-510-9025. That's 866-510-9025. Let's move to this first story about this South Carolina man, Mr. Williams, being shot 17 times. This is an article that comes to you from NBCnews.com. It says the sister of a South Carolina man who was killed by police after a high-speed car chase claims in a lawsuit that 3 officers shot her unarmed brother 17 times in the back as he lay on the ground. Waltki, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Cermoun Williams, did not have a weapon and was struck in total by 19 of the 24 shots fired at him during the deadly confrontation on December the 10th, according to a lawsuit which was filed in Sumter County. Again, this is a story out of South Carolina. Again, when you shoot somebody that many times, and if the allegations in the lawsuit are true, there's a lot of malice in just emptying your guns into a person's body like that don't pose no threat to you. We've seen it time and time again. I'm reminded in Cleveland, Timothy and Marissa, I can't remember their last names, but that's where the police officer, they went chasing after the car backfired. They thought it was a gunshot. They go chasing after the car. Why the man didn't pull over, I can't answer that for you, but he didn't. All right. So anyway, once the car is stopped, the police just opened up. Over 100 shots were fired into the car. Again, Marissa, the female passenger, wasn't driving at all. So what did she do? So not to say that Timothy deserved to be executed like that for whatever traffic violations. But then you had that one officer who jumped on the hood of the car and then just started opening up into their body some more. That kind of stuff, man, that's savagery. That is with malicious intent. And that guy ended up getting off too. So when I say that I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc., I'm not saying that to make jokes or anything like that. The news that I come across and report on, it's just so sad. It's just so sad. And the intel that I'm seeing suggests that it is a war going on out there. Just seems to be one side's taking all the casualties. What happened to Williams, the suit goes on to state, let me back up. Sumter Police Department officers had the obligation and opportunity to refrain from utilizing inappropriate and unnecessary deadly force, the lawsuit states. However, the officers in question made the conscious decision to use inappropriate and unnecessary force. What happened to Williams, the suit goes on to state, is so extreme and outrageous that it shocks the conscience. The lawsuit filed on behalf of Williams' sister, Tamika Kine, seeks unspecified damages. Williams, who was 35 years old at the time he was killed, was black. The race of the officers who fired the fatal shots has not been specified in the court papers, and they have not been identified. There was no immediate comment from the Sumter Police Department beyond the denial of the allegations laid out in the lawsuit. All right, so I have linked to this. It's a fairly long article if you want to read it. A couple of other articles that I read, they're trying to make race an issue. And this is a conversation that I've had with several associates, is do you want to play the race card every single time something happens? Even though we know 9 times out of 10 racism may be involved, but can you prove it? It's not what you know, it's not what you feel, it's what you can prove. And a lot of times, I feel like, and I agree with Mr. Fuller, that we bring on unnecessary confusion, arguments, and dialogues by using the R word when it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary to mention what the race of the officers are in this lawsuit. It's not necessary to mention what the race of the victim is. In these court papers, I would be alleging that Mr. Waltki Williams is a U.S. citizen who has been endowed by his creator with unalienable rights, and among those are the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that these officers violated his constitutional rights with inappropriate force, unnecessary force, and excessive force. You just need the facts sometimes. What is the goal? If the goal is justice, well, I guess it doesn't matter how you get to that goal, but sometimes it do. You can, if you are codified, you can, I guess, move in the system a lot more easier if you don't be so quick to make everything about race, even though everything is about race, if you can understand where I'm coming from. Because I heard counter-racist author Neely Fuller of what is his book? The Code Book. You can just look up Neely Fuller Jr. He's only written that one book that I know of, but just Google his Code Book. But I heard him one time mention that when you go to the courts or in a public venue, I think he used a town hall as the example. Can you think of how to talk about what's wrong, how you're being injured without using the R word? Can you describe it? Because as soon as you say the R word, then it's going to be a whole bunch of yelling. It's going to be a whole bunch of screaming. It's going to be a whole bunch of denial. And then all of a sudden, everything ceased to be productive and you make no progress whatsoever, because then they hitting you with, you're the racist. You're the reverse racist. So in cases like this, we know that a lot of times some of these cops are black. There's plenty of black slave catchers out there, and they be shooting people too. All right? So I don't know why. I guess it's the media. The media, again, we had to quit falling for media tricks. And it's not like just because we can prove something is racism, well, it's not like you're getting a badge of honor for that. The goal is justice. In this case, the goal is to win this lawsuit. Why add an element to the lawsuit that you can't prove? You would really have to prove. You would have to prove that the officers involved were all white, for example. You would have to prove that they belong to a white supremacist nationalist group, which the police have been infiltrated. FBI says so. But just because the FBI says so, how are you going to get hold of that proof? You got to have proof about the person you're accusing of being a racist. So, I mean, it's just so much that you got to prove, and how hard that evidence, if you got them on tape calling people niggers and things of that nature, well, of course, yes, then you enter it into the lawsuit. But I'm just skeptical of these reporters and stuff asking the victims' families, or do you think race got anything to do with it? I feel like they be baiting you. They be baiting you to make that charge, or to make a charge that you can't prove, so that then they could use your own words against you later. All right? We know that a lot of times racism is the issue in these cases, but again, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove. So I am paying attention. I always pay attention to questions that the media asks victims. And, it appears like the media wants to make this about race. Nothing in the lawsuit that I have seen thus far says anything about race. So we'll I'll be keeping up with this story. This is, again, in South Carolina, which we were just talking about South Carolina last night. It's a lot of stuff that's going on in the Carolinas right now. Unfortunately, a teen girl, about 14 years old, from Charlotte, her 18-year-old, I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her friend, but both of them from Charlotte, came to our little rural town, found a little park, and he ends up shooting and killing her. And just read about that today. So sad, so sorry. It just seems that it's a lot of crime, and I'm talking about the police too. I look at these killings as crime, but it's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the Carolinas right now. And one of our other stories, I do have an update for you. I got some video from a press conference that was held the other night by the community in the case of the North Charleston store. What was that? Andrews Discount Market, where the black man was being accused of shoplifting, and then he was assaulted by the store owners and employees or associates, whatever titles they're going by. They even pulled out a sword like they was going to cut the man's head off. And I mentioned Sharia law. I saw this type behavior when I was stationed overseas in Saudi Arabia. We don't want that kind of stuff in our community. That, again, I talked about it last night. There is a proper way to detain people who shoplift, and then there's an improper way to detain these people. Pulling out a bunch of guns, waving them around like Otis pointed out last night. The way that guy, one associate, was waving the gun around, it could have went off and shot anybody. I don't know where he learned to handle a weapon at, but he was very unsafe with that weapon. Then they had on the owner's Facebook page, on his personal Facebook page, it's him and his friends with a whole bunch of assault weapons and what. Very strange story. Still trying to update you. I do have a correction that did not happen yesterday. That happened a week ago. The video was just posted yesterday, and I assumed that it happened that day, as it didn't have a date in it. But I now found out that was about a week ago. So I do have some video of a press conference that was given by the sister of the victim. The man was arrested, who was accused of shoplifting. He was arrested, but thus far, the people who assaulted him have not been arrested. And again, we're not trying to justify anybody stealing or anything like that. But you don't get to beat these people. You don't get to threaten them with guns. You don't get to make them get on their knees like you're going to chop their heads off. Y'all can keep that crap over there in the Middle East where y'all practice that type of stuff. You're not going to bring it to our communities over here. So, that watching that video just really had me heated last night. So, definitely got an update for that. In the case of Mr. Williams, this case is still being investigated by the State Law Enforcement Division. It's called SLED, I believe, State Law Enforcement Division. Special Agent Tom Berry told NBC News, "We have not concluded our work on the matter." The lawsuit lays out a different scenario, and there's no mention of any exchange of gunfire. Oh, yeah, police was trying to say that Mr. Williams was shooting at them. But according to this lawsuit, he didn't have a weapon. So, waiting for SLED to wrap up their investigation. That could be a year from now. That could be 2 years from now. It could be indefinite. That's how long sometimes these investigations take. They don't do them in a quick order. You wonder why. I mean, as long as it take them to do these investigations, no wonder they have a backlog on unsolved crime at some of these police departments, rape and murder. I mean, come on. they take years to do stuff. So, that's a story that we want to keep an eye on out of South Carolina. Again, the victim's name is Waltki Williams. He was 35 years old when he was shot, according to the lawsuit, 17 to 19 times in the back while he lay unarmed on the ground on December the 10th last year. Let me see. Let's go ahead and take a station identification break as we have reached the halfway mark. All right. I'm getting some comments that I cannot be heard on our video, but I'm showing everything's working on our end, so that could be your equipment. I'm showing all my audio meters is working properly, so I'm sorry. You can also visit us at blacktalkradionetwork.com. Listen, let me go ahead and take this station identification. That'll give me an opportunity to check and see if we're having some audio issues with our stream. You're listening to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed, and I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Be right back. Black Talk Radio Network is made possible in part with help from the Black Talk Media Project, a North Carolina-based nonprofit engaged in the production and distribution of independent digital black media. Find out more by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com or blacktalkmediaproject.org and look for the menu tab, Crowdfunding Black Media. Black Talk Media Project, helping to provide you with new black media for the new millennium. Tuned in to Black Talk Radio, new black media for the new millennium.
Freestyle, free like birds and trees, free like open seas, free like the change of seasons, and that is the reason we need to stop killing American soldiers without a reason. Freestyle, fighting a war for money control and America's own treason. Disloyal to our own, but we go to other nations and we make their houses our homes. What about our homes? What about our houses? In this war that ain't about you, ain't about me, and damn sure ain't about America's civil liberties, cause we got Americans dying behind gunfights, crooked cops, babies crying, presidents lying, black men a statistic, AIDS, and this shit is quite twisted. The streets sweet, babies missing, and mamas wishing they daddies was there, and it makes me wanna holler cause it seems like we no longer care. Freestyle, free like freeing the street soldiers from this war in progress, cause it's on the street too, and it too is about greed and power. We need the government to wake up and take a true shower. We need us to get us free, cause they don't know what's best. Probably ain't never seen 7-year-old little boys wearing bulletproof vests to protect their chest, cause ghetto children run free, and they run free through free bullets that's ready to rip through chest. Free bullets ready to lay to rest anyone in their way. See, free bullets run free through playgrounds where ghetto children run free all day. Freestyle, let me await to see the day when I am free like birds that fly high up in the sky, flapping wings able to elevate while my mind accumulates thoughts of being free, cause my voice is not free like freedom of speech should be. Freestyle, freestyle.
Like a spoiled child with well-to-do parents, like not only being royal, but standing and planning as the heir apparent. That's how it should be. Freestyle, without FCC sons of pals calling out files, or free like anarchy in the streets and the rippling roars of the crowds. Like taxi drivers do rules written in stone. Freestyle the way the FBI can tap all our phones. Free to be me and do whatever I want to do, and freestyle so they can be them and you can be you too. I want mine totally, completely absolutely unconditionally free. No rules or regulations of what could, should, or might happen to one day be. No values claimed, no limits to the game, no special names you need to know to get in. No chains, leashes, leases, or theses on how far I can take my journey or what criteria this poet needs to fill and fit in. Free to see glass ceilings shattered and the shards sent to the discard pile. For freestyle.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Freestyle. Never repressing my thoughts, locking my words, stressing the verbs and on because my speech is not free like the wind that blows. It's supposed liberation throughout this tried, tired ass nation. While I sit on rooftops reading the alphabet versus the ghetto and screaming out, don't die, civil liberties, don't die. Hoping my voice is heard through the nation's mountaintops. And the Emancipation Proclamation said I was free over 200 years ago, but my soul still don't feel so. While the Statue of Liberty presents a false reality of freedom, more fake than reality TV, cause she just does not reflect me. My voice locked up and locked inside my body. Without words, I can never be free, so I look at myself and try not to see myself as a nigga they wanted me to be. Free like birds is what I wish to be. No longer picking cotton on your plantation. My arms tired, my legs weak, feeling like my life has succumbed to your damnation. And without justification, it seems I have become a slave to hip-hop beats and Rhythm Nation. Ignorance is spoken at its highest height, played on every radio station, cause they think that can be tight.
And welcome back to Black Talk Radio News. I do not know what the problem is with our B Live stream. Apologies to those who are attempting to listen. We'll go ahead and end it there. And but all our other streams appear to be working just fine. So that's something to work out with B Live. I apologize that you're having those issues. All right, let me continue on with the program. The next story that I want to jump to is this story about this man being killed. In Utah. Yeah, he was killed in Utah. Roy, Utah, it looks like. Nicholas Sanchez was killed by Roy police. The family of the 38-year-old Nicholas Sanchez said he was killed in cold blood after a brief altercation at a convenience store in Roy, Utah, which led to his death. So we do have some video on that. Let me go ahead and pull up that so we can hear the audio to him being killed. For those that's listening on the radio stream, let me set it up for you. He's at a convenience store, and he's just standing right outside the door or the entrance of the convenience store. The police were called, said that it was a man acting suspicious, looking suspicious. They go up to the man, try to get him to come away from the door. He wouldn't do it, and he ends up running from them and then ends up getting killed. So for those, you can ascertain that while you're listening to the audio. So let me go ahead and run that audio. This is dash cam or body cam video obtained by I believe it was Salt Lake Tribune obtained this. And the video starts off with one of the officers, the one that shot him, actually pulling up on location at the convenience store in Roy, Utah. And he's turning on his camera now.
Really? Are you with them?
No. What for though?
I just told you why. Come over here and talk to me. Let's go.
Really?
Or do you just want to be arrested right now? It's your choice.
What do you want to talk to me for though?
I will let you know. Come over here. We got called on you.
What did I do though?
I'm going to talk to you. Come over here and talk to me.
Come over and talk to this officer.
Well, just go.
Okay, over here.
Keep your hands out of your pockets for me.
Oh, sorry. Look, I got you.
No, you got a gun on you. Do not reach for it in your pocket.
What? What are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands! Weaver 311, shots fired! Shots fired! Do not move!
Well, that was the video The man did die. Why would you have a gun in your waistband and then pull up your shirt to show it to the police and then take off running? These things never end well. They just never end well. And I'm not trying to play Monday morning quarterback or anything. Look, that is a dangerous job to be a police officer. I'm not going to sit up here and act like all of them go into these situations looking to murder some people. It happens all too often. But again, in this case, now, this is what gets me in this case, though. The man had a gun. He ran. He dropped his gun. And then the cop picks up the man's gun and kills him with his own gun. At that point, you know the man is unarmed, so why did you shoot him? I just can't make sense of that. And then was he not worried about hitting his partner or anyone else who happened to be in the area, as you heard all that rapid fire? Those bullets can go anywhere and kill anyone. So that's just a very crazy story there. All right. This video was just released. You can find it linked up for you. This one is on YouTube for the Salt Lake Tribune YouTube channel. Let me just share some of the details with you. Utah police officers fatally shot a man after disarming him and then firing at him with his own gun, according to law enforcement officials and body camera footage that captured more than a dozen bullets being fired. The video officers from Roy, Utah, firing at Nicholas Sanchez, who's 38, at a gas station, has sparked outrage from friends and family who said the man was never a threat and that after police secured his gun, there was no justification for lethal force. He got killed in cold blood, said Brenda Tyner, a close friend of Sanchez who lived in Layton, about 25 miles north of Salt Lake City. It makes no sense they shot him so many times. Again, the man made some stupid mistakes, but at the same time, I have to agree, after you have his gun, why did you kill him with his own gun? Why did you murder him at that point when you could have just brought him under control and arrested him? So, very sad story. Again, it's just not too uncommon for these things to happen here in the United States, and that's just what's so troubling. It's so troubling. I do have an update on the story that we shared with you last night, where we showed the video of the store owners that I was just ranting about a while ago, talking about the store owners who were practicing Sharia against the black men that they were accusing of shoplifting. The man was arrested. He is in jail, but the community still wants the store owners to pay for what they did in assaulting this man. So let's go ahead and run some of that video. All right, we have it now. Okay, let's go ahead and run that.
They had a gun to this young man's head and a sword, whipping him with the sword. We are not going to allow that Sharia law here in America. We are a country of laws. The police should have been called, and the police should have did their job. We're not going to allow foreigners coming in this country treating people like this. In the 34-mile radius we have, in the 10-mile radius we have 34 Arabs or foreign stores within our community. We're not going to allow them to rape our community anymore. We're going to be here for the long haul, demonstrate and protest. We want him out of our community completely. We want him gone out of the community. And don't care how long it takes, we'll be out there protesting. We are not going to allow them to treat people like they treat them. They need to go back to their country and where their laws are different from our laws, but we're not going to allow them to do that here.
Charles, you want to say something? Or Charles, go ahead. Charles Tyler, National Action Network.
Clearly, he had a man that he had money in his pocket. Clearly, he didn't have a chance to leave the store. You have to call a man stealing when he hasn't even spoken anything. He clearly said when they was beating him and pulled a knife on him, had a gun.
Let me stop it right there, because he makes a very important point. Again, I've covered about 2 other shoplifting cases. The first one out of Charlotte, where the black woman was attacked by the 2 Asians, the Asian man and the Asian woman. And I was saying it was an illegal detention because the woman, you have to leave the store. From my research, it says you have to leave the store with the merchandise before they can detain you. Because you could say, oh, I was going to pay for it if they try to detain you in the store, unless they have clear-cut evidence. But most of the stuff that I read said you're supposed to walk out the store first, because the person can always say, hey, I was going to pay for it. And it's not against the law to put stuff in your pocket, put stuff in a bag when you're in a store if you go to the counter and pay for it. That's not against the law. What's against the law is when you try to walk out the door without paying for that. So again, the man is innocent of shoplifting until proven guilty. I haven't seen any video that conclusively shows that he was guilty of shoplifting. But what I did see was video of the man being assaulted with several different weapons, including a sword. So let's continue to hear what this man who's speaking for the National Action Network, has to say.
His head, kicking him and punching him. He said, I got money in my pocket. So when you go against the law and not apply the law, you're breaking the law also. And this is what happened clearly what we saw in video that was shown to us.
I had a meeting this morning with Chief Dragas to actually look at that video, and he have assigned a Deputy Chief Cheeto to this here at this store. So we're waiting to see exactly if they're going to charge them with assault and battery and kidnapping. We want those charges: assault and battery and kidnapping the owners of these stores. Okay.
Because they locked him in the store. They didn't go police. The video I saw last night, I didn't even know that was my brother. I saw a black man being brutalized. They tore him to pieces. My sister called me on the phone 5 seconds after I saw the video. She said, Tasha, that's our brother. I had to go back and look. He was bleeding from his head down. They're kicking him.
And he wasn't resisting.
He was not resisting. He wanted them. He was afraid for his life. But you kicking a man who bleeding.
As if he was an animal.
You tell your brother, shoot him. Incense? You tell your brother to shoot my brother because you say he was stealing incense that he never even got out of the store with. You guys, they lock him in the store. And
as if nothing ever happened.
How? Nobody knew this happened until last night. The guy who took the video, I appreciate him. I appreciate him because if he was not in that store, they would have killed my brother. You clearly hear him say, shoot him. So if there was not a video running,
and just so far as to want to chop his head off, who does? I've never seen that.
You have to see the video.
The other sister.
I'm just too full.
We're not standing for it. We're not standing for it. We got black men around here. They struggle. Yeah, they struggle. But we don't need people like that coming in here and making them look like animals. I'm gonna help my brother. And I ain't gonna sit there and let these people keep on staying in business and do that shit to the next man. No.
Why was he charged with shoplifting then?
He was charged with shoplifting because North Charleston Police Department is gonna believe them. They're gonna believe them before they believe a black man. That's always.
And we want to know if North Charleston Police Department have the item they say he stole.
Exactly.
That's what we want to know.
I'm going to stop it right there. You heard a question from, I guess, a reporter there at the press conference. Well, why was he charged with shoplifting? What does that have to do with him being assaulted? Again, don't allow people to take you down those roads. The facts of the matter is he's innocent until proven guilty, and you do not get to assault people who you suspect of shoplifting. Can you detain them? Yes, you can detain them. There are certain protocols that you do. They actually tell you in the stuff that I was reading that you should get specialized training on how to detain people because you can't open yourself up to lawsuits. They beating this man with weapons. He's bleeding. That does not fly. But like the sister said, they always gonna take the store owner or the shop owner's word, especially when we talking about suspected racists in these police departments. So again, he didn't leave out the store. So where's your proof that he was intending to shoplift? That's besides the point. You do not get to pull out a bunch of guns, pistol whipping people, beating them with a sword, and injure them like that. So let's continue on.
It doesn't matter. He never left the store.
The owner told me on the phone that your brother, with all due respect, has been here several times causing trouble. That he let me finish. I want you to answer. He came in here supposedly threatened to kill them and had a knife, they say. That's what they say.
My brother, he struggles, but my brother is not a violent person. If you look at his arrest record, he's not a violent person. He struggles with his addiction.
Now, Hub, you saw the video. You saw that video, Hub.
Yes.
That man was fearing for his life.
Yes.
With that kind of fear, you think he would come in there with a video, knowing that these guys carry guns on their side every day? That's kind of stupid, and that's a lie. They're trying to protect themselves.
Yes.
They have weapons in the store every single day.
If they knew he was a threat, if they knew he was that kind of person, why didn't you put him on trespass? You should contact whoever you need to contact, put him on trespass, and when he comes near the store, deny him access. No, you knew the kind of person he was, and you let him come in, and you did that to him because you wanted to make an example. No, I'm gonna make an example of them. No, you can't do that.
I'm Willie Felder with the Berkeley County. I'm the Berkeley County president for National Action Network. When I watched the video, I thought I was watching a video in another country, okay? Because stuff like that don't happen here in America, okay? A person can kill a dog and they arrest you immediately. If I kick a dog right now, I'm going to jail. So I want to know why a video like that showing a man being kicked and beat with a sword and nothing's happening. Nothing. I feel that there's a problem with that. I don't care if he had stole $50 worth of stuff out of the store. It don't amount to somebody being beaten down in the street like a dog. This is a human being. And we can't allow stuff like this here to happen. Yeah, this is the United States of America. If we accept this, we accept anything. And we're not going to accept this.
I'm almost against deportation. But we need to find out if these people here are illegally. We need to find out. Because now we understand that this store's been bought by foreigners. And they're all in the black community, raping the black community, putting no money back in the community. And what we're going to do, every foreigner store in our community is demand that they put some of that money back in the community. Exactly. Only $7 cents out of $1 circulate in our community, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. If they can take our dollars in our community, we want scholarship funds, right. And also we want them to contribute to the crime that's in our community. We're not going to take it anymore. We're sending a message to all the Arab and the foreign stores in North Charleston and the city of Charleston that we're going to stop you from taking money out of our community and putting none back in there.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there as we only have about 5 more minutes left in the program. We'll continue to follow this story. Again, this is a story that we reported on last night. A couple of the other quick stories that I'm going to share with you. As I mentioned, Jeff Sessions has ordered the Justice Department to review all police reform agreements. He ordered the Justice Department to review reform agreements with troubled police forces nationwide, saying it was necessary to ensure that these pacts do not work against the Trump administration's goals of promoting officer safety and morale while fighting violent crime. So again, it doesn't matter. They don't care about the citizens. The Trump administration doesn't care about Americans being abused by these police. They just care about the police. I mean, both of these individuals, Trump, Sessions and these police are supposed to be public servants. Don't seem like they serving the public. Seems like they serving each other. So this review could have an effect on current consent decrees nationwide. So that's a story to check out. Last story, you got proxy racist David Clark telling Newark's mayor, Ras Baraka, saying that he is stupid, basically. Let me just read a little bit from this article. Sheriff David Clark blasted New York Mayor Ras Baraka for vowing to defy federal immigration law. Baraka, who leads New Jersey's largest city, said President Trump was essentially making sanctuary cities fugitive slaveholders by demanding they work with ICE to deport illegal immigrants or have their federal funds withheld. I've heard a lot of stupid things, but comparing fugitive slaves to illegal immigrants is the gold standard of stupidity, Clark said. He said he wished Baraka would make the same remarks around the 19th century African-American icons Dred Scott, Nat Turner, or Frederick Douglass. Clark said such men would disagree with slaves being returned to their masters was the same as illegal immigrants being sent back to their home country. You know what? After reading that, I'm going to have to agree with Clark on this one. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have to agree with him on this. Okay? These people are not slaves until they find themselves in the geo facility where they will be slaves. But we shouldn't be trying to compare sanctuary cities like they're providing sanctuary for escaped slaves. That ain't what's happening. That is not what's happening. So that's just a bad comparison, Brother Baraka. But I had to go with David Clark on that. All right, this is my program. Make sure you check out Black Talk Radio Network's digital radio station. Tomorrow, Wednesdays, is always a full day of live broadcasting, starting off with Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Tando Radio Show, New Abolitionist Radio, and then Mind, Body, and Spirit Radio will close us out on Wednesday night. Recognize the fact that you live behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. It's a war out there, and we are just taking too many casualties. So you have to adapt to the battlefield environment so that you don't become such an easy victim of 21st century slavery and human trafficking. Be safe out there. Peace and blessings to all.